Welcome students. So, in the process of say understanding the receivables management, now we are in the say last leg of this discussion, and today we will have some more discussion about the receivable management, and after that I will close discussion on it and move to the next part, that is the management of the third important current asset, that is cash. So, after talking about the credit risk analysis, where we discussed the different four kind of the analysis to be done, that is an analysis of operating structure, financial structure, then the managerial structure as well as the industrial scenario. Now, we will talk about the something called as the credit policy variables. Credit policy variables. Credit policy variables are normally three: credit standards and analysis. Number 2 is the credit terms, which are two important terms, credit period and the cash discount, and third variable is the collection policy and procedures. So, these are the three important variables which are called as the credit policy variables, right. Now, the credit standards and analysis. See, when we have to grant the credit, or any firm has to start granting the credit or has to grant the credit or start selling on the say on credit, they have to set the standards. Standards can be very stringent, they can be liberal, or they can be in between the two. Now, if the firm's credit standards are very strict, in that case only those buyers, prospective buyers who enjoy a very good reputation or excellent reputation in the market, they will be considered for the grant of the credit, and whose reputation is not very good, I would say it is satisfactory, okay, but not very good, or who do not enjoy good reputation in the market, good credit rating in the market, they will not be granted any kind of the credit. So, as per the credit standards, what the companies do, they normally divide their customers into three broad categories, that is A category customers, B category customers and the C category customers, right. A category customers are excellent customers, B are in between, and C are the say at the last stage, that if say for example, if firm want to pass on its finished products, means convert the inventory into the receivables, then only it can be thought of, that too if the risk is at the acceptable level, otherwise the firm would like to keep it as inventory and bear the inventory cost. But sometimes firms prefer that rather than keeping anything in the inventory or holding inventory and increasing the cost of production, because holding the inventory has many costs including the obsolescence. So, they pass on it to the buyers on the credit, and it is the agreement between the selling company and the buying company that you pass on the product in the market to the people, you sell the product finally in the market to the people, and after the collection of the sale proceeds, you can remit our part back to us and retain your profits with you. So, the companies whose credit standards are very strict, they will only like to give the credit to the A category of customers and not to B and the C category of customers. But say sometimes what happens that it may not be possible to say achieve the targeted sales by simply selling on cash or selling on credit to the A category of the customers. So, sometime after reviewing the credit policy, maybe for the short term basis or on the short term basis or on the long term basis, sometime companies even liberalize their credit standards, and sometimes they include the B category of the customers also, and C category of the customers are only to be taken into account if there is a problem of selling the product in the market. Now, if I was talking to you in the previous classes sometimes that say Maruti is depending for its most of the inputs from the different suppliers. Other than the gearbox, Maruti is not manufacturing anything. So, it means Maruti is a class buyer, because Maruti is never going to default. They may ask for the longer credit periods, and for that credit period also they are say allowing the seller or the suppliers to load their credit sales with the interest factor. So, no problem at all, means whatever the sales are made to Maruti Suzuki or the Suzuki India Limited, those are fully secured because of the reputation of the company, Suzuki's reputation in India, or maybe any other multinational's reputation in India. If they are buying on credit some inputs from the suppliers, then they are making the payment on the due date and their say credit is secured. Say we talk about now the C category, I was talking to you about the companies like Videocon, Onida. Now, they in the date of today, they are the C category of the buyers, that if they want any kind of supplies if they want any kind of supplies, in that case their supplies will be, or supplying to them on the credit will be highly risky. They would say that yes, we will make you the payment back as and when the funds are there or the liquidity is there. So, means they are the C category of the customers because their own performance has become doubtful in the market. So, even they are selling the final product to the consumers through their retailers or through their distribution channels on the basis that simply keep the product in the store, and if you are able to pass it on to the people, then you remit our part to us, otherwise you keep on keeping it. So, it means simply then the retailer is allowing them the space on his shelf to keep their TV or their fridge or their washing machine, and he is ready to help the companies. That much is good enough for these this type of the companies. So, they are not say in a position to see that they should be selling to A category of customers or the B category of customers or the C category of customers. For them all are well. So, normally they sell to the C category of customers. So, it means if the customer is able to make the sales in the market and collect the sale proceeds, then he will make the payment back to Videocon or Onida, otherwise they may not. So, here credit standards, when we talk about credit standards, may be stringent, they may be liberal, or they may be in between, mediocre standards. So, that depends upon that how we have to set the standards. If the company's product is very good, you talk about in the car segment, say you talk about the Honda's cars, you talk about the Suzuki's cars, you talk about any multinational companies cars in India, they are doing well. There are some companies, for example, you talk about say Fiat, or maybe you talk about General Motors, who has I think closed down its operations in India. Their products people are not liking much, though they are good products, but people are sometimes having the preference for Honda or say Hyundai products or maybe Suzuki products. So, it means some of the companies who are not able to do the business, so for them means the credit standards have to be liberal, their credit standards will be liberal, but the companies who enjoy a good reputation in the market, for example, in case of the Samsung is a company who expects its dealers and distributors to do the business on the company's terms. So, they ask the dealers and even retailers to send them advance post dated checks, and it is not up to the dealer to place the order to Samsung that yes, I want to have 10, 20 or 30 color TVs. It is up to Samsung that when they have the surplus stock, it is passed on to a dealer at one particular place. He has to accept that order and he has to sell that product in the market, and advance checks are used as the payment by the company. So, in that case they are not giving any credits, and if even they are giving the credits, that is only for a minimum period of time, and that too only the best quality of the retailers in the market. So, we have to analyze the borrowers and accordingly we have to set the standards. So, if the borrower belongs to the A category, so for them there is the standard has to be very liberal because payment is secured, but if it is the C category, then in that case the company has to be very strict and they have to analyze it from many angles so that the payment is secured. Then we talk about the second thing, that is the credit terms. I have talked to you earlier also, credit terms means credit period. First thing is the credit period and second is the cash discount. It is a option given to the buyer. You want to buy from any particular supplier on credit or you want the cash discount. So, if you want to buy on the credit, so that credit period, standard credit period may be, say the seller's credit period is 1 month, right, that credit period is 1 month. So, this is the one option that you want to take the credit. So, yes, I can give you the credit for 1 month or 30 days, you buy the product from me today and you make me the payment after 30 days, that is one term. Second term is the cash discount, that if you are ready to pay me cash, in that case I will give you 2% discount, I will give you 2% discount, that you make me payment less by 2%. So, choice is of the buyer. If he has the surplus funds available, in that case he would like to buy on cash and enjoy the cash discount. Even he can weigh the option that if he can borrow the funds from the bank and directly make the payment to the company by enjoying the discount of 2%, it means 2% if it is per month. This is the 2% per month. So, it means per annum will be how much? 24%. So, sometimes the buyers weigh the option that if say from the bank, if he goes to the bank and bank funds are available at 18%. So, why not to enjoy this discount, because this is 2% per month. If he is going to lose this 2% discount, he is going to pay 24% cost, and if he is say going to borrow money from the bank, he is going to pay 18% to the bank. So, it means he has to make a choice that whether he has to lose this 2%, means if you talk about 24% per annum gain, and if he is not in a position, if he is having no liquidity or he is not able to raise the funds even from the bank, then he has to go for the credit period and say 1 month is okay for him. So, in this case what we have to do is, normally as we have seen in the past also, what we write here is 2 by we write here like say 2 by 10, 2 by 10 net 30. This way the credit terms are written, 2 by 10 net 30. Here 2 by 10 net 30 means we are not saying that he has to make the payment when he is buying on cash, he has to make the payment immediately. He can be allowed to make the payment after 10 days. That normal credit period of 10 days I will give it to you. If you are ready to pay me within 10 days from the purchase from me, I will give you 2% discount. So, this is 2 by 10, otherwise net discount of the 30 days is permissible to you, but in that case you will not get any discount. So, we write the credit terms like 2 by 10 net 30, that if you are making me the payment within 10 days, I will give you 2% discount, otherwise normal credit period of 30 days is there. So, these are the two credit variables, say credit terms, that is the credit period and the cash discount. So, these are important, and every firm has to decide that what will be their normal credit period, because in India, as I told you, credit period ranges between 30 to 45 days, in some cases it is up to 60 days also, and if the firm is not very good, but now is not very good, was very good in the past, in that case the discount the credit period may be more than 2 months also, but the normal average if you talk about, it ranges around 45 days, 35 to 45 days, and in some cases it is 60 days. So, the firm who is going to grant the credit has to decide that what credit period normally they are going to give, and that depends upon the say their brand equity, their reputation or the credibility of their product in the market, acceptability of the product in the market, pricing of the product in the market, or maybe say the quality, distribution, demand of the product in the market. If it is selling like hot cakes, then maybe hardly minimum credit period, and if it is to some efforts are to be made, or sometimes what happens when the companies have to enter into the new markets, when the companies have to enter into the new markets, in that case they have to sell the things initially on credit. So, that depends upon that in the existing market how much credit period you normally want to give, in the new markets how much credit period you want to give. Sometimes the credit period can be extended also if we have the piling up inventory. So, that can be the short term changes, as we have seen and analyzed it quantitatively, that say we want to normally our credit period is 30 days, but sometime when the stock is piling up and demand is sluggish in the market. So, we will have to relax our standards and we will have to increase the credit period from the 30 days to 45 days, right. Or other way around, we can have the other option available to be given to the buyers, that how much discount we are ready to give. So, normally discount remains 1 to 2% depending upon the order. If the order size is very big, then 1% discount, and if it is small, then it can be 2% depending upon the order, so that it is lucrative to the buyer also, and it is not very expensive to the seller also. So, every company has to have this particular variable, that is credit terms, which are 2, credit period and cash discount. Then we talk about the collection policy and procedures. Collection policy and procedures should be very stringent, very clear, very particular. Sometimes what happens that when we are selling on credit, then every company has to create one department which is known as the debt collection department. This is called as debt collection department, and when a sale is made from the sales department, that invoice duly accepted after the receipt of the consignment, duly accepted by the buyer, is received by the sales department, marketing department, sales department and then marketing department, and then the marketing department sends that invoice to this debt collection department. This goes to the DCD, debt collection department, full fledged department company has to establish, and their job is to keep track of that how much credit sales we have made, and over different say periods like weeks, months, fortnights, how many or which order is becoming due to be received, means which payment is becoming due to be received against the order we have supplied in the past. They have to make, say for example, there are the different dates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like this we have the dates, and they are making a proper record that on first 3 payments are expected, here 5 payments are expected, here 4 payments are expected. So, this way, so multiplying payment on an average, for example 1 lakh each. So, this means on first 3 lakh rupees should be collected by this department. So, this is only possible if they are maintaining a proper debt collection department, and that department is maintaining the proper records of the credit sales. These days, now the trend has come up. In India, it is a new trend, but in the other countries like US, Europe, this trend is already existing, that normally firms who sell on credit, they takes the services or helps of one agency which is called as factors, Who are the factors? Factor is a agency or one specialized company who apart from providing many services to the manufacturing companies, they provide one service that they maintain this department also, that is the debt collection department of the companies. If a company who is a seller, who is a manufacturer and seller on credit, if they want to dismantle their debt collection department, because we can make a comparative analysis. In the comparative analysis, debt collection department has a cost. We have to have the people, we have to have the space, we have to have the some equipments also, and it has a monthly cost and it has the annual cost for maintaining the debt collection department, which makes our sales very expensive, particularly when we are selling on credit. So, if we are thinking of that, rather than maintaining our own debt collection department DCD, we can take the help of the one agency, specialized agency, which is called as factor. And factor's job is that when any firm is, once any company has taken the services of factor, who has appointed some factoring firm, they are called as the factoring firms, FFs, factoring firms. So, any company has appointed their say service provider, means factor, one factoring company as their service provider. So, what they do, there is no, first thing they do is debt collection department is dismantled, that is removed from the company, so cost is saved. And this job is transferred to this external agency which is called as factor. So, the day when the sales are made by the sales department and marketing department then after getting the invoice duly accepted by the buyer, passes it on to the factor. That invoice is sent to the factor and that invoice is maintained by the factor till the time the credit period becomes over. On the due date or maybe one day before the due date, a phone call has to be made by the factor to the payer that tomorrow your payment is due for this much to this company, and we hope that your check will be ready and you will be sending the check to us or maybe making the online transfers, right. And on the due date, next day they will make sure that the transfer payment is transferred by the factor to the company. So, there can be two arrangements, that the paying company can make the payment to the factor, or directly the paying company can make the payment to the selling company, and factor can be informed that yes, we have already made the payment of this particular order, yesterday it was due and we have already made the payment on that date. So, the factor can make the say required entries. But in some cases, when for example, the payment is delayed by the buyer to be made to the seller, if it is delayed, then say some notices, some legal work or some maybe technical notice or legal notice, if it has to be done, means first they will do the normal simpler things, reminding them, making a phone call, and if they are not listening, then they will give them a simple notice, proper informing them in writing, and still they are not listening, then sending them the legal notice and all that. If all these things are not working, then the factor will inform the company that your payment was due from this particular company, this particular customer on this date, and he has not made the payment to you till date or in your account. We tried it at our level best and he is not responding or he has refused to make the payment. So, please let us know what is to be done. So, means total rights are transferred by this company to the say factors, and factors provide apart from so many things. I will discuss with you the factors at appropriate place, what are the services the factors provide, but here the important service the factor provide is they perform the job of the debt collection department, and it is not only the debt collection function, but they help the selling company by reminding the payer, by writing him the letters, by issuing him the simple notices by themselves, or even by giving the legal notices. To the extent possible, they try to help the selling company to realize the payment from the buying company, and if it is not possible, then finally the matter is reported to the selling company that your payment was due and he has not made the payment. We have done this much, so you know you see what is to be done. So, then this service can be taken. So, it means collection policy and procedure has to be clearly laid down by every company, that how the payment will be collected, whether the payer will be asked to deposit the payment directly in the bank account, or he will be say asked to send us a check, and check will be deposited in the bank by the selling company after receiving it, or any other way. It has to be, collection policy has to be very clear, very we must say stringent also, so that nobody takes a feeling that if we delay the payment nothing is going to happen, and if we do not make the payment even then nothing is going to happen. There should be the provision for the penal rate of interest also. If the payment to be made by the existing buyer or buyer in the past is delayed, he must be penalized for delay in the payment. Normally that some 2, 3, 4 days the delay may not be very significant, but if it is like a week or 15 days or a month, then he should be penalized by charging the penal rate of interest. So, this is something about the collection policy and procedures. So, these 3 points make the credit policy variables, that credit standard and analysis, credit terms, and the collection policy and procedures. With this we complete the discussion on management of the accounts receivables, very important second current asset. First we discussed at length the inventory management, then we discussed at length the receivables management. We had a lengthy discussion, discussed many things about it and about the receivables management, because it is a very important second current asset. And now we will be moving to the third current asset, which is called as the management of cash. Management of the cash is another very important asset, because it is a third important asset, and we have to manage the cash very efficiently and sincerely, otherwise it may again create a problem and may cause increased financial cost. So, let us move to the management of the third current, learning about the management of the third current asset, that is the cash management. Now, if you talk about the cash management here, then we will be talking about this cash management, and this will be the next part of discussion for us now. Cash, when you talk about the cash management, you think that what to manage in cash. It is very simple. If we have cash, then we have the cash and we can say keep it with us, or what is there special to manage, but we are talking about the cash to be held by the companies. As like inventory and receivables, cash is all important third current asset. As I told you that if properly we are not able to manage the inventory, it is going to cause the cost. If we are not able to manage the receivables, accounts receivables, it is going to cause the cost, and it may create a situation where the cost is more than the returns it is contributing to the company, and ultimately we are ending up at loss making proposition, right. So, like inventory, like receivables, now we have the third important asset, which is cash management. Cash management is again current asset and it has a cost. So, in the firm, because when you are talking about a large sized company, we are not talking about the 10, 20, 30, 40 thousands of cash, then we are talking about the millions of the cash. Sometimes the collection of the cash is in millions. For example, you talk about the cold drink companies, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. What is their daily collection of the cash? They are collecting cash daily, on the daily basis they are collecting cash, depositing it in the banks, and banks are managing their cash. So, the collection sometimes goes into the millions and crores. So, in that case, what part of that total collection has to be kept as cash? How much it has to be invested into the market, into the marketable securities, or into the other kind of the assets, and keeping the cash, what is the cost involved, and if there is a shortage of the cash, what are the consequences, what are the outcomes of that part, that is also a very important thing to be taken care of. So, many things we will talk about the cash management, but we will start here with, that is, cash management is concerned with 3 things: cash flows into and out of the firm, cash flows into and out of the firm, cash flows within the firm, and cash flows held by the firm at a point of time. So, cash flow into and out of the firm, think about it, this is the cash flow into and out of the firm, it is into and out of the firm we will have to think about. When you are talking about the cash flows into and out of the firm, we are to be careful here that what does it mean. Firm is holding the cash. So, it means as I am telling you, Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they collect the cash every day from their distributors, from their retailers. So, the cash is flowing into the firm and it is going out also when the payment is made by the company to the suppliers. When the company is made, payment is made by the company to the supplier of power, of the water, of the say salary to the employees, other office expenses, or maybe the other kind of the inputs we are buying, maybe the raw material these companies are buying. So, for that also the payment has to be made, right. Say for example, suppliers of bottles. So, though the product is manufactured by them, that powder which they convert it into the cold drink, that is manufactured by them, that is a patented product, but say bottles you talk about, their covers you talk about, and maybe the crates you talk about, all this is a material which is purchased and it is on the credit basis and the payment has to be made after some period of time. So, cash flow into the firm and out of the firm. How much cash is flowing in on the daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and how the cash is flowing out, and at one particular point of time what is the net balance of the cash available. So, for this reason every firm makes a cash budget. If they are very efficient and having the sufficient resources, in that case what they do, they prepare the weekly budgets. They prepare the weekly budgets, they know that in next 6 or 5 days how much cash is flowing in to us, how much cash is flowing out on account of the different payments, what is the net balance is going to be with us. That net balance is going to be surplus, maybe the receipts are more than the payments, or the net balance is going to be deficit, that the payments are more than the receipts. So, if there is going to be surplus, you have to be prepared well in advance how and where that amount has to be invested, or where it has to go, how much we want to keep a cash as a cash, and remaining part if it is very large surplus is there, how it has to be managed and where it has to be invested. This question has to be answered immediately, so that you do not lose the time. Immediately when you get the surplus cash, it goes to the avenue where it should be invested. Similarly, if the situation is reverse, that there is a shortage of the cash, at the means we are budgeting, when we are preparing the budget for the next 5 or 6 days, we know that there is a shortage of the cash in advance, because budgeting is done only to say fix up the roadmap, and we know that there will be a shortage, our payments will be exceeding the receipts. So, if we know that in advance, it means we have to make the arrangements well within the time, maybe 1 week before we will make the arrangement that on Thursday next we need this much of the 10 lakhs of the cash. So, from where it will come? We are not keeping it beyond a level in the firm. So, we have to arrange from the bank or maybe from selling the marketable securities or any other. So, that will be known to us if we are planning our cash properly. So, surplus are going to be invested in the market and deficits are going to be met by arranging the cash from the different sources, and finally we are going to maintain a balance. So, for that you understand the cash management is important. Then is the cash flow within the firm. Cash flow within the firm is like to maintain the liquidity at all levels. Purchase department want to purchase material on cash. So, they should be provided sufficient cash as and when demanded by them. Salaries have to be paid to the employees at the end of the month. So, there should be sufficient cash. Utility bills have to be paid by the company at the end of the month, there should be sufficient cash. Then marketing department needs the cash, sales department needs the cash, advertising people need cash. Whosoever at what point of time, how much cash they are asking for, that is the responsibility of the finance department to make arrangement of the cash and to provide. So, fulfill all everybody's requirement within the firm. So, it means cash must be flowing on within the firm and sufficiently it must be flowing. There should not be any shortage of the cash and there should not be any abundance of the cash. So, what we have to do is we have to learn here how to maintain the optimum balance of cash. So, that is another thing we are going to learn by learning the cash management. And third important point in the cash management is that cash balance is held by the firm at a point of time. How much cash you want to know? As I am emphasizing upon, I am discussing since we started the discussion on the cash management, that at any point of time how much cash should be there. As I told you, more than the required level of inventory is also bad, more than the required level of credit sales is also bad, and similarly more than the required level of the cash is also bad. So, we cannot afford to keep the high level of current assets, reason being they are highly expensive assets, and if any extra investment is made into these assets, that will directly end up with paying extra cost, and the return on these investments will be very, very low. So, we have to maintain or learn how to maintain the optimum level of the cash, so that neither it is more nor it is less. Cash is available when we need the cash, and cash is not surplus or in abundance, so that it is lying unused and we are not able to make the proper use of the cash. For example, if you look at the balance sheet of two companies, like a public sector company and a private sector company. In the public sector companies, large PSUs, you will find the huge amount of the cash, huge balances of the cash, and they will show in the balance sheet in the current assets that this much lakhs or crores or millions of rupees of the cash is there in the balance sheet. Now, what that cash is doing in that company? If that cash is not properly managed by the company, it means they do not know how to manage cash. It should have been not cash, it should have been shown as the marketable securities. It should have been shown as some other any kind of the short term investment, invested into the treasury bills or anywhere, so that that cash is earning something. But since it does not belong to anybody, it is a public money, it is a government money, it does not belong to anybody, and their management is also not very, very professional. So, it means nobody bothers about the management of the cash in the PSUs. But in the private sector companies, you will be very, very say curious to know the balances of the cash, and you will find at any point of time there is no surplus amount of the cash you will find. They are maintaining the optimum amount just to fulfill their regular operations, but surplus of the cash or unused amount of the cash, that high amount of the cash will not be available in the private sector companies as compared to PSUs. So, means cash management is very, very important, is a third important asset, and we must learn about it, how to manage the better and efficient management of cash. Remaining more and say quite interesting things about the cash management we will discuss in the next class. Thank you very much.